Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Views and News and I'm Faisal Rahman live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about this very important visit of the leader of Afghanistan, Mr. Abdullah Abdullah, who is here on a 3-day official visit. He landed here yesterday and he'll be leaving tomorrow. So this 3-day visit is considered to be very important, where he met Shah Mahmood Qureshi, and he's also going to meet the other major leadership, including the President, the Prime Minister, and the Speaker of the National Assembly, as well as the Chairman of the Senate. Now, the important part is that how relevant this particular visit is, how important this visit is, and on top, what sort of a breakthrough should we expect? Now, primarily, when we talk about the top issues that we'll be discussing in our today's program, it is about how political settlement in Afghanistan will shape up. The second important question is, who are the spoilers in Afghan peace process? Obviously, we'll be talking about that. That is very important. And is Afghan soil being used against Pakistan? That is also a very major concern of Pakistan. And the last is, stable Afghanistan ensures peace in the region. And we all want that to be understood, because peace in Afghanistan exactly means peace in the entire region, and especially for Pakistan. Now, there are a couple of interesting soundbites that we'll be sharing with you. First one is from the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Shah Mahmood Qureshi. Let's see what he has to share.
My message is, we have no favorites. My message is, we do not want to meddle in your internal affairs. My message is, we respect and want to respect your sovereignty, your independence, and your territorial integrity. Whatever consensus evolves through your dialogue and your negotiations, we, as the people of Pakistan, will accept the will of the people of Afghanistan. And that's the way it ought to be. It is important for us. We want to be friends, not masters. And that's the paradigm shift. And that's the new realization and the recognition, if we have to coexist in peace and build a common future.
Well, I think the Foreign Minister was spot on. Friends, not masters. He has assured Afghanistan of complete support for peace process. He also talked about that there is going to be no meddling from the Pakistani side in the Afghan affairs, and also talked about the independence, about the territorial integrity, and about the sovereignty of the country. Now, let's hear what Abdullah Abdullah had to say.
We're facing series of threats, common threats, most of the time, and challenges, including various shades of terrorism, extremism, intolerance, and more recently, COVID-19 pandemic that has not spared any country. Both countries need to pursue an enhanced level of interaction for a more peaceful and prosperous coexistence. The time is now for both nations to make further detour, define a new vision, address outstanding issues as well as our shared interests, realize that peace and stability in Afghanistan, or any country in our South Central Asian geography, for that matter, can have far-reaching consequences, constructive consequences, and ripple effects by setting course on a new path toward good neighborliness and greater regional economic integration.
So, to talk about this particular visit and the ideas that were shared and discussed, we have with us in our studio on my right is Ambassador Aslam Rizvi Saab. Rizvi Saab needs no introduction, the former ambassador, senior diplomat. Sir, thank you very much for your time. And we have with us Dr. Professor Rashid Hussain Saab, a known strategic analyst, known international affairs expert. Thank you very much, sir. And we'll be also talking to Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid Lodhi Saab, who's a senior analyst, and he's going to join us. He has rather joined us on Spike, and former defense minister as well. General Saab, thank you very much for your time as well, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Now, first question to you, sir. Let's start off from the very important statement of the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Shah Mahmood Qureshi. He said, sir, no meddling in the Afghan affairs. We respect their independence. We respect the territorial integrity, and we also look after their sovereignty. Now, sir, a very clear-cut stance, a very clear-cut approach. And I think this visit was very important because when we talk about the, I would say, sir, these issues where there is a lot of trust deficit, I think, sir, these are some measures to basically overcome that. Let's start off from there. Rizvi sir.
You're right. Pakistan and Afghanistan, they are neighbors. We have historical, cultural, religious affinities and history. But we've seen our relationship over the years has been going up and down. We had a low point during the Afghan Soviet invasion of Afghan and so on. And then there was a period of the Taliban rule. And then we have seen the international forces being there and a conflict taking place where the West and the American-led forces thought they could defeat the Taliban and prevail upon them. But Pakistan, and especially the Prime Minister, has always been saying that the only way forward for a political settlement in Afghanistan is through dialogue. So this is where it is there. Now, because of our long relationship, we have seen that there have been ups and downs, and a lot of mistrust has taken place. And it's partly because of the different vested interests of, especially on the side of Afghanistan, that the forces that are there. Our next door neighbor, of course, is taking advantage from there. They've got their own connections and proxies to spoil relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan. So what we see now is that the visit of the chairman of the Afghanistan High Peace Council on National Reconciliation, his first visit here, which is going in a long way to build on the mistrusts that have and to improve, do away with the mistrust and improve. But I think one must recall that in 2018 we made a framework arrangement to improve relations between the two countries, and that was the Afghanistan-Pakistan action plan on political cooperation and on the solidarity between the two countries. We've had several meetings held under that framework, and that has gone in some ways to reduce the mistrust between the two countries. So this visit really adds to that way of removing the mistrust, and we hope that as time goes by, and given the role that Pakistan has recently been involved in, to bring the Taliban and the Americans on the negotiating table, and then also, of course, to discuss the peace talks. So that has brought about confidence, not only from America and the West, and also from the Taliban as well. So I think it is in this background that we see the fact that the prospects of peace emerging may take some time, but it can do, as pointed out by several speakers, that it can bring about stability, security, development in the region. And it opens up huge vistas. CPEC is one, energy corridors is another one, mineral resources of Afghanistan.
Absolutely,
others.
sir. And
So,
TAPI and so on and so
there's
forth.
so much,
Central Asian.
exactly, so much that we have to look forward for cooperation rather than confrontation.
The kind of potential Afghanistan has. I was just reading about the presence of emerald mines in Panjshir area and the northern side, sir. It's unbelievable. It's just that they have everything, it's never been tapped. So I think if they play their cards right, they have a lot to offer to the entire world, sir. Forget about the peace. Now, sir, I want you to comment on this, but At the same time, there is another very important issue, not recent, I mean, it's been pretty old, 3 decades maybe. It's about the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Now, sir, I mean, we are talking about bringing peace in one part, but right across, I mean, not even 1,000 kilometers, there's another problem, sir, which is brewing. Again, Christian-Muslim issue. I mean, do you think, sir, that issue can also sort of raise a lot of question marks regarding the peace process in Afghanistan? If I may add that to the previous question, sir.
Faisal, there is always a connection between one set of conflict and its spillover effects on the other conflict situations. So in that sense, yes, one can draw a connection between what's happening between Armenia and Azerbaijan over the Nagorno-Karabakh issue. But I don't think that it has a direct relationship to what we are discussing here. And I would like to add only one thing, that this is for the first time that Pakistan has made a conscious effort. It has borne fruit that Pakistan has reached out to what is known as the Northern Alliance leadership. So Abdullah's visit, which is taking place after a gap of 12 years, is a significant landmark, because he is supposed to be one of the major stakeholders in any power sharing arrangement that will be worked out between the Taliban and the Karzai and Abdullah led government. But then I should also sound a note of caution that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Unless and until a power sharing arrangement is worked out, under what terms it will be worked out, whether it would mean the Taliban have to give up on their commitment to establish an Islamic Sharia, Islamic Emirates, or there will be some negotiation between the two sides, which will what kind of a framework agreement will be put in place. So unless one has a clear idea of the emerging contours of the peace deal, it's very hard for one to predict whether these stakeholders, along with the other stakeholders, they will remain in place.
Correct.
So Pakistan has done the right thing, because they have Pakistan has done this in the belief that in any power sharing arrangement, Mr. Abdullah will be a key stakeholder. So Pakistan has reached out to him and before even he undertook his visit, he had talked about that Pakistan and Afghanistan have many grievances. So hopefully, as a result of his very positive visit, all the public messaging that was done by him was very, very positive, and Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahab, our Foreign Minister, laid down very clearly the markers that Pakistan wants Afghanistan which is stable, which is united, which is independent, and Pakistan will not dare interfere in their internal matters. But the question is that is Afghanistan under the control of a stable regime whereby they would not be interfering in our internal matters? And there have been recent reports, if you look
We
at
should
it,
learn how to exist side by side, sir.
But there have been reports that the TTP under the United leadership has carried out number of attacks along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. So this is an issue that we need to come to grips with, and hopefully during the negotiation that took place, this issue was raised by Pakistan, and the Afghan government has been able to give some assurances to Pakistan. So overall, I would say that the public messaging and if you look at the positive tone in which the visit was described by both leaders, by Pakistan's political leadership as well as Abdullah, the message is very clear. And he came not only alone, but he brought a very large delegation with him, and most of them were present today when he spoke at the Institute of Strategic
Studies, yes,
in Islamabad. So I think this visit augurs well for the future of the two countries.
Let me take the same point to General Lodi now. General Sir, first of all, your take on the significance of this visit, and also tell us now the future of the non-state actors. On one end, we hear that Mr. Abdullah says that he's going to give assurance to Pakistan, or rather he has given assurance to Pakistan, that they'll make sure that the soil of the Afghanistan is not used against Pakistan. But sir, on the other side of the border, we do understand that things are beyond their control. I mean, they can't look after the internal security matters either. And look at the number of soldiers that are dying every day inside Afghanistan. TTP is getting a lot of support from India and other spoilers, I would say. So under these circumstances, sir, do you think things will move in the right direction, or rather abrupt and some very serious steps should be taken?
Thank you very much. First of all, I think a very well articulated and clear policy statement by our foreign minister, and I think reciprocated by Abdullah Saab also. Abdullah, as we all know, is a very important person. He holds very important two portfolios. He's the chief executive and also the chairman of the Council of Peace, and Harmony. There were two takes which I gleaned from foreign minister's statement. One was, of course, as we have always been saying, the very popular saying that Afghan-led and Afghan-owned, problem solving. We believe in that, and he and Prime Minister also acknowledged what I'm going to say, that they said that, but we will be there to help any peace negotiations wherever we are required. So we have committed ourselves to keep assisting the process as it moves forward. But the only thing is that we have said that we will not have any favorites and we will not side with. I think the very good and balanced statement. And equally good statement came from Abdullah also. One, I think for the very first time, at least I have heard from any significant Afghan leadership, government leadership, that he appreciated the role played by Pakistan in bringing about peace talks, agreement and all that, although the peace has yet to come. And secondly, he said that the point that you were referring to, that we will not allow our soil to be used against any of our neighbors. Now, this is what the question you raised, and I think a very pertinent one. Whenever you say that you will not do this, not allow anyone to do that, you have to be a sovereign in that area. And we know it very well that for the time being, there is no one entity which can claim sovereignty as far as one is concerned. So these things will only become practical once some sovereign setup is there in Afghanistan, which is not there for the time being. So I agree with you that whatever is happening, TTP collaborating with other splinter groups and trying to unify their efforts. But in my own humble opinion, that the main stakeholders are likely Taliban, and in any future setup, they are likely to be the main political force, although they will have to adjust many other factions. They will have to, adjust others, but they will be the main, stakeholders. They will be calling the shots. And it is quite expected that they will not allow raw or ex-NDS activities. Why I say ex-NDS? Because I think under the new government, whenever it takes place, the shape of NDS will change, and the activities of NDS are also likely to change. I would like to add one thing, and that is about the influence of Pakistan as far as Afghanistan is concerned. Whereas we have made this resolve that we will not interfere and we will not have any favorites or non-favorites. Look at the jointness which is natural, the 2,400 kilometers long border, which was very porous up to recently. It is now that the fence has been erected, and there were easement rights. We know that there are tribes half living on that side and half living on this side. We have linguistic affinity, we have tribal affinities, we have religious affinities. Then also there's a lot of banking of Afghanistan on Pakistan as far as trade is concerned, as far as food is concerned, grains are concerned. So Pakistan will have that natural influence and vice versa, because the people-to-people contact, and Afghans will be coming here and we will be going there, hopefully. You also must have noted that we have also announced 18 marketplaces or small bazaars all along the border, which is a very good thing to happen. So I think this will create that homogeneity which is required between the two nations. However, they will remain jointed in a way that they will keep on influencing each other more than any other entity. So that we have to keep in mind. We hope and pray that this time our journey forward is likely to be more fruitful, because another factor has come in, and that is CPEC. And Afghanistan emerges very important as far as connectivity is concerned between Central Asia and the Indian Ocean. And I think the Chinese influence will be there. You talked about the detractors and those who want peace. Top of the detractors, of course, is RAW, Indian RAW, then the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, then some gun runners, some narcotic barons. And if you ask me, Americans are interested to leave peacefully themselves, but whether they are interested to leave behind a peaceful Afghanistan, I have my doubts, because there are news that they are plonking some, some contractors over here and some other proxies. I will not commit more than this, but I think we'll need to have our fingers crossed. But those who want peace, they are quite strong. China, Pakistan, Iran, Central Asian countries, even Russia. So let us see what happens. But I hope and pray that this time the same format will not be played out as it happened when the Russians left and Americans also abandoned, because this time the things are very different. Thank you.
Now, Ambassador Saab, tell me that when we talk about the peace process, obviously we do understand that who are the spoilers, where the issue lies actually. Now, so in this particular case, Jan Saab just mentioned about CPEC, but two major, I would say, stakeholders. One is a genuine one, that is America, that has been there for a very long time, almost 20 years, and they have very categorically opposed CPEC. Why would they let Afghanistan to be a part of that big mega deal? And secondly, sir, India, despite the fact that they're top businessmen, they really want that India should be a part of the CPEC, because they can gain, I think, the maximum in the region if they are part of the CPEC. But since they are in the other quarter at the moment, don't you think, sir, the Indians would not like to sort of, let things settle in Afghanistan and again, give it a boost when it comes to CPEC? Not CPEC, primarily OBO.
Yes, well, the position is that America is using India as a bulwark against China. And of course, the One Belt, One Road project, CPEC, is the, the jewel project. And it means prosperity for China. It means strengthening of relations with Pakistan, which is a rival to India. So if you look at it from a geopolitical angle, from security angle, they are obviously working towards trying to sabotage the CPEC. But then again, this is a policy of President Trump, confrontation with China. China, on the other hand, is wanting to have cooperation, and it always holds out, even in the UN speeches, if you could see, the threats and war and cooperation and from the side of China. Now, ultimately, I think it depends that how far will the new president, if it is Mr. Biden, will pursue the same policy, or will he opt for cooperation? Other thing is that whereas China.
Sir, if you allow me, we have been joined in by the Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi. Assalamu alaikum, Shah Saab.
Awaz teez rakhiyega, please.
Shah Saab, thank you very much for taking out your time and talking to PTV World, sir. Now, the first point, which is very important, we were listening to your statement regarding no meddling in Afghanistan, and it should be totally Afghan-led, Afghan-supported, Afghan-owned, Afghan-controlled, primarily the setup there, and we totally support that. So, after meeting, what do you conclude? I mean, what sort of an impression have you gotten from the Afghan side regarding this entire peace process, and in particular the visit of Mr. Abdullah Abdullah?
The visit is still going on. I think it's going on very well. The interaction we've had so far has been very positive, very constructive. The meeting that I had with Dr. Abdullah Abdullah in the Foreign Office was a very constructive meeting. The discussions that he had, the one-on-one meeting, and the delegation level talks that he had with the Prime Minister were extremely good. He's met every important institution of Pakistan. He's met the Army Chief. He's met, academics. He had a talk at the Institute of Strategic Studies this morning. He will be meeting the President tomorrow. He's met parliamentarians. Speaker hosted a dinner for him last night. And the entire focus was on how to work together for a peaceful, prosperous, stable Afghanistan. Because Pakistan feels that a stable and peaceful Afghanistan is in our national interest. What we can deduce from the interaction that we've had so far is that there is a recognition of the positive, facilitative role Pakistan has played in pushing the peace process forward. There is appreciation, there is recognition, and they also realize that for a prosperous future, Pakistan would be a useful partner to have. And in Pakistan also, there is a realization that our future is interlinked. A peaceful, stable Afghanistan is in our interest. If we want to improve regional connectivity, if we want to see important projects like CASA 1000 and the Taki gas pipeline implemented, then peace and stability in Afghanistan is critical. On the whole, there are great opportunities for bilateral trade, expansion of bilateral trade. Today, the cabinet has endorsed and approved a new, friendlier visa policy for Afghanistan. We have facilitated their coming and going from Pakistan. The advisor for commerce will be visiting Kabul in the near future to discuss trade and investments. We've had a very good discussion on the 31st of August, when we reviewed the second round of, the APAPS mechanism that is in place. So it's a very positive trajectory that has developed, and there's recognition for it today.
Very visible, Shah Sahab. Shah Sahab, one more quick comment, and that is about the trust deficit. Unfortunately, whenever we talk about Abdullah Abdullah or the Northern Alliance, there seems to be some sort of a disconnect. But now I think Pakistan has done a brilliant, as far as political movement is concerned, or you talk about the diplomatic effort that Abdullah Abdullah Sahab was here. Do you think that particular trust deficit part, that has been eroded now?
In my view, I think we have traveled a long way. When we came into office slightly over 2 years ago, the relationship was fairly tense. There was finger pointing, there were accusations, but today there's recognition. Today there's appreciation, and this warmth and this cordial relationship that you see develop between Afghanistan and Pakistan is, in my view, a success of your foreign policy and recognition of a new Pakistan, a new approach, and a desire to add a new chapter to our bilateral relations.
Let's hope, and we can always pray for that, sir. Last question, but obviously when you talk about the peace process and you really want to give your 100% for that, But sir, the role of spoilers cannot be undermined. It was there, it is even there, and it will remain there. Your take on that part, Shah Saab?
They recognize that. And Pakistan has categorically spelled it out that there are people who have benefited from the war economy. Keep an eye on them. There are spoilers who would like to undermine the peace process. So collectively, we have to remain vigilant, and we have to, be patient and persevere what we have achieved so far.
All right, Shah Saab, thank you very much for your time, sir. Sir.
Yes, just coming back to what you were saying earlier, the point is that CPEC provides a huge bonus for the participants, and in order that we have better relations with India, they must have some kind of advantage, or there should be some incentive for them to be able to have relations. Or, as it has been said, they have virtually put up a wall between Pakistan, and they are disregarding Pakistan. And it is right now because of the American policy, India against China. But they also have their own relationship with China. They had skirmishes on the borders and so forth, but they also have a huge trade going from there. You can imagine how much more trade they can have if they are part of the CPEC and so on. So this can be a kind of a incentive. We should perhaps, whenever we start a track 2 diplomacy and so on, we should offer them to join. We should encourage the Chinese also to tell them to join CPEC and abandon this confrontation, be a part of the region, which can be a win-win situation for the whole region. So this would be my input on that.
Now, sir, talking about the role of SCO, I think that is going to be very important, because primarily when you're talking about 4 nuclear states being a part of that deal, sir, and almost all the regional countries that surround Afghanistan, everybody wants peace there, sir. So what sort of an effort do you see coming in from the SCO regarding this particular process?
SCO has been supportive of the effort by Pakistan to promote peace in Afghanistan. Particularly, they have been very appreciative of this effort by Pakistan to promote Afghan-led and Afghan-owned dialogue. But there are strong limitations because SCO has too many players, including India, and the Indians are not willing to let the SCO platform being used for promoting peace inside Afghanistan. But then the Chinese differ with that view, and Pakistan, of course, disagrees with that. So there is a SCO-led peace initiative has yet to take concrete shape to affect the developments inside Afghanistan. But coming back to the role of spoilers, Faisal, it's very important that in today's New York Times, there was a long piece in which they have said that the Tajik leaders, the Panjshiri leaders, are trying to evolve or revive the Northern Alliance as it was thought, and they are defying the writ of the central government. So there is a possibility that
there could be a conflict within
Afghanistan. So if should that happen, I hope that doesn't happen, but that's a speculation. But there are
Sir Abdullah, why he would love to have that kind of an engagement.
There are serious indications that should the ethnic conflict inside Afghanistan between the Tajiks and the Pashtun areas, should it escalate, so then it could be a serious threat to peace. That's one. Now the Indians would like to keep the Afghan in a situation of a conflict, low intensity conflict, whereby they would like to pick their winners, they would like to invest, and there are already reports of the Indian interference inside Afghanistan through NDS, through the TTP United Factions, and so should the Indians not realize the necessity for peace and if they refuse to cooperate with the region in terms of the efforts to promote peace in Afghanistan. So I think there should be a setback, and hopefully it's my considered opinion that the Indians have learned their lessons, because the COVID-19 crisis has dealt a huge blow to the Indian economy, and the India is likely to even cross the death toll which is taking place in the United States. So hopefully this pushback by COVID-19 crisis will force the Indian government to rethink its approach to the region, as well as to pay attention to their domestic problems. Otherwise, Modi's future is seriously in jeopardy because of his mishandling and mismanagement of the COVID-19 crisis. So hopefully that factor alone will be an incentive for India to reconsider its approach towards Afghanistan. But even though I think the most important thing is that what kind of a progress is achieved during the Doha peace talks. If the peace talks are fruitful and there is a hope, and we can keep our fingers crossed. So if the peace process gains momentum, so whatever the Indians may want to achieve by subverting the process, they will not succeed in this, because they are not a direct stakeholder in the Afghan peace process. They have invested. They are what I call the fake stakeholders, because they do not have a direct borders with Afghanistan, and the most important peace stakeholders are China, these two Central Asian states, Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan itself. So if there is a regional consensus, and there was some reference in Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab's talk today, in which he had said that there is a regional consensus about the necessity for the outbreak of peace in Afghanistan. So if that consensus holds, then I think India will not be able to do much damage to the Afghan peace process.
And I know these two projects, CASA 1000 and TAPI, whether
Yes.
it could be TAPI or it could be TAP later, we'll see, because in the other gas pipeline project, IPI, there was another problem. But sir, that is also pretty important, that now Shah Saab was mentioning about trade, bringing in more stakeholders, so that people would like to keep peace there, so that things move in the right direction. Maybe it would take 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, because Afghanistan at the end of the day, sir, is a war-torn country with no economy at all. Obviously, the fallout factor is in Iran or in Pakistan. But sir, one important area which I want General Saab to throw light on is about the US election now. I think that is also very important. General Saab, whenever I switch on CNN, I would like to share that it seems that channel is by design bashing Donald Trump. Maybe Donald Trump is making a lot of mistakes and he's giving reasons to the media houses to come up with all sorts of allegations. But now, for example, last night there was this debate that he has paid $750 in 2015, and prior to that 15 years, I mean, if you look at those, out of those 15, he hasn't paid anything in the 10 years. And people were surprised. So they pick up all those, stories which directly affect Donald Trump. It seems that Joe Biden could win, but we can't predict about the American elections. But just in case, I mean, keeping both the points in view, sir, if Donald Trump regains and he gets elected for the second term, what if he doesn't? In both the case scenarios, sir, what do you see happening in Afghanistan?
First, a little bit about the Northern Alliance and the Pancheris. I think it will depend a lot on the attitude of Iran. And Iran, lately, that they have aligned themselves with China, and they are, up against America. And secondly, they are also distancing themselves from India. So, which means that we have brighter prospects of Northern Alliance and Pancheris this time joining the mainstream. Of course, they will have their, independence in their own areas and all that. That sort of governments have existed in Afghanistan before also, with a weak center and very strong provinces and tribal system. So that it goes. Now, coming to the American election, opinion, yes, there were certain forces which are trying their best to slow down the process. Thinking that maybe loses, the American establishment reasserts itself, and again, some forces revert back to Afghanistan, and we can keep having good time. And this is, I would not name, but there are certain factions in having good time because of this war economy, as Foreign Minister was saying, and which were having good time because of the protection and assistance which they were getting from America. But I think that things would have gone to that threshold that probably whoever wins, it will become irreversible as far as this process is concerned. Because if by let us say by the time the next president takes over, it is highly likely that the number of troops in Afghanistan will be below 4,000, and maybe even less. So which means that bringing back more forces will be very costly, and of course they will not be able to afford it. So I think this process is likely to continue. The only thing is that it may go faster or may go slower in the event one president comes or the other president comes. But generally what I felt is that American public also wishes to get out of Afghanistan. If that be the case, then I think anyone coming will not matter much, except that how will they retain their influence in Afghanistan, which is very important for America. They cannot leave this region without their influence. Now, how will they do that? Will it be with the help of Indians? Very, very difficult. Will it be with the help of Pakistanis? I think it will be Pakistan's nightmare if that happens, or some other way, because they have a lot of money, and Afghanistan requires a lot of money for the development, maybe some direct influence and all that. I cannot say that. But one thing is for sure, as I indicated earlier also, that America is not going to leave Afghanistan alone, even if they have not a single soldier on their soil. So we have to have our fingers crossed. But as I said, with the help of China, Iran, Russia, Pakistan, Central Asian countries, and the people of Afghanistan, we will, inshallah, win peace in Afghanistan.
All right, Jalal Saab, thank you very much, sir. So, 30 seconds, quick comment.
Well, just a quick word. You know, there been a lot of time had been wasted regarding the prisoners exchange.
Yeah.
And now the ceasefire, discussion on ceasefire is dragging on. I just want to make a comment that, one of the spoilers seen is President Ghani himself, because it's his interest to continue. And there was some mention made that he is dragging his feet only because he thinks when Biden comes into power, he may change track, number one, or two, at least delay that. But then, by the time the elections will take place, there will be hardly 5,000 troops left, and that will make things much worse. Now, the most important thing is, as far as the withdrawal is concerned from there, it is important, very important, that it should be peaceful, and it should not be in a hurry from Afghanistan. So that is very important.
Yep. Well, let's see, sir. Well, time will tell, but it is not an easy process. But a lot of effort is required, sir. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Professor, it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so
and that's all we have for this hour. Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow at 8. Till then, you take good care. Khuda Hafiz.